really excited to jump back on Spaces. We had an amazing week or so at Avalanche Summit. So many things happened, and so we're really excited to kind of talk about some of the stuff that's happening within our ecosystem. But one of the things that was happening beforehand was the Alliance DAO ALL7 cohort, and we wanted to talk to the projects building on Avalanche. And so really excited to bring the Alliance DAO team together here and then talk to some of these projects and these builders. So to kick things off, why don't we, Will, why don't we start off with you, since you kind of spearheaded a lot of this. Why don't you give us a quick intro on yourself?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Will. I'm head of community at Alliance DAO. My background is somewhat weird. I have a PhD in video game design, and I worked as a forensic crypto auditor for 4 years, and now help all the teams who come into our program to do their very best in growing along, tokenomics, security, investment, legal, whatever they need, we're ready to help. And our team is about 11 other people plus me and our DAO of 500. Pretty active members, trying to, build the best Web3 can do and support the best founders we can find. Right now, we're at about 2 to 4% acceptance rate for people applying at Alliance.xyz. So if you're a stellar founder building something awesome in Web3 at any stage, we'd love to have your applications. The general premise is that we're not as much an accelerator as we are a community of super builders, right? So if you want to join this Illuminati of Web3 constructors, come on over. So yeah, that's me. The next cohort starts May 19th. This cohort just graduated last week or the week before with an awesome demo day. You can check out all their demo day presentations on Alliance's YouTube channel. I hope I didn't leave anything out. I'm sure there's tons to say. We can all get back to it later.
Yeah, thanks. I'm sure there's lots you could say about all the great work you and your team are doing. So I'm sure we'll get into it. I'm sure we'll talk a lot more about what Alliance does and how it helps these teams and these founders. So really excited to hear more from you. Why don't we kick it over to Eric from the Ava Labs team if you want to give a quick intro.
Yeah, thanks, Kyle. So I'm Eric. I've been at Ava Labs for the last year and a half. Before that, I was in consulting for about 4.5 years, mostly at PwC. Currently, I'm on the business development team here, focused on growing the Avalanche ecosystem. We work primarily with external partners on a variety of things, whatever the projects need help on, right? It could be tokenomics, co-marketing, building a community, fundraising, pretty much you name it. I focus mostly on DeFi projects these days, but given that Avalanche is a all-purpose layer 1 platform, everyone on the team works on a pretty wide range of different initiatives along the way. Super excited to be here. Super excited to kind of talk to these projects, learn more about the Alliance DAO program, and see how we can gear up the next cohort.
Awesome, thanks, Eric. Appreciate it. So yeah, we're still gonna get Ed here from Arrow up to log in through his phone. Oh, here we go. Ed, how's it going? Can we test your audio real quick? Yeah, we can. Awesome. Cool. Thanks for jumping on. We actually just got started and we're doing a quick round of intros. Do you want to give an intro on you and your project?
Yeah.
I think it's cutting out. Go ahead. Try one more time.
I'm actually getting some feedback here, guys. Can you give me another minute? Sorry about that.
Yeah, for sure. Let's no worries. To James. James, how's it going, man? You want to your project that you have?
Sure. Hey, everybody. It's James here, part of the last Alliance cohort, so I can vouch for what Will said. Alliance is a great program. I'm working on a project called Paper.xyz. We're making it really easy for merchants to sell NFTs to everyone, anywhere from crypto newbies all the way to crypto natives. And so using our developer tools, a merchant or a developer can sell an NFT that accepts cross-chain crypto, credit cards, and users who don't even have wallets. So that's our project.
Awesome. Yeah, really excited to hear more and for the community to hear more about the project. So Tony, why don't we go over to you? If you want to say hello, give a quick intro on your project.
Oh, great. Hi, I'm Tony. I'm the founder of Inc Finance and one of the cohort of this all 7 Alliance DAO members, and be glad to be here. And Inc Finance is basically a SaaS for no-code financial DAO governance. So what it does is enable DAOs to issue financial products in order to raise capital from DeFi investors. So that's basically a quick wrap.
Awesome. Thanks for the intro. And Ed, you want to test your audio one more time?
Yeah, guys, can you hear me?
We can. Sounds good.
All right, cool. I'm Ed Mehrez from Arrow Markets. We're an options protocol native to Avalanche, currently on testnet. And we also have our trading competition that's coming up. My background was more in academia, coming from a PhD at Cornell University in financial economics, focusing more on mathematical finance, including options pricing, bubbles detection, and also having some stints in industry and internships, as well as doing a little bit of consulting. Glad to be here, guys. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Ed. Glad we got you up. So yeah, we're here to talk about the recent cohort with Alliance DAO and how they're helping these projects all launch on Avalanche. So Eric, I'll let you kind of take it away from here.
Yeah, thanks, Kyle. So just to start off, maybe for each of the projects here, if you can maybe I know you give a background of yourself, maybe the background of the founding team, and you guys each have a different focus area. Could you maybe share more how your team kind of decided on your specific use cases? We can start with maybe James from Paper.
Sounds good. Awesome. I realized I didn't actually do a background on myself earlier, so I'll do a little bit of intro on the whole team. So my background was mostly actually in the creator economy. I worked on a startup that went through YC in summer 16, which built points for creators. Back then, I wasn't as big of a believer in crypto, and so this was just there weren't any tokens; they were just points locked in our database. And in 2016, we sold that company to Twitch and joined there, worked there for a few years. Sorry, 2018, worked there for 2 years as sort of running a couple products around community with channel points and predictions and polls, and then started working on this project about six months ago. So the founding team were also a bunch of kind of ex tech people who've been in this space. My co-founder was actually in ed tech, did a couple of companies, sold them to different ed tech and HR companies, and then was at Nextdoor before we started on this. And then our founding engineer was one of the first few hires at Twitch, built out their whole chat system. And so we got really excited about crypto because of the possibilities in unlocking transparency for creators, allowing them to own their own network, disintermediating the big platforms who are taking crazy cuts for the revenue that the creators are generating. How we ended up exactly at Paper is we started off actually as a membership product for creators in Web 2, and then we realized that the big unlock is by moving these memberships from subscriptions into tokens. And as we were trying to build these membership tokens for creators, one of the challenges that we ran into is how do we make it possible for these creators to actually sell these tokens to their Web 2 community who don't have wallets, who don't have crypto, who doesn't understand wrapped Ethereum on Polygon or USDC on on Solana. And so we were trying to find a solution. And so we looked at all the different kind of products out there with on-ramp, with checkout products, and we just couldn't really find one that allowed us, that was designed for developers and allow us to have the capabilities to be able to reach a wide-ranging audience for our creators. And so after building that product out for like about a month or two, we decided to just focus on the developer tooling of making this checkout payment product as opposed to the developer side, the creator side. And so that's how we ended up at Paper.
Great. Ed, do you want to go next maybe? I know you guys have a pretty interesting story as well.
Yeah, for sure. So myself already gave a bit of an intro, but for the rest of the team, starting with our other founder, Patrick Kiefer, he was also a PhD in financial economics, but from UCLA. We had met each other during our undergraduate days there at UCLA. He stayed there to do his PhD, and I went over to Cornell. It was basically through the great environment at Cornell that was really thriving with, Goon and Ari Jules, who are out there. I had participated in the IC3 conference over there a few times, actually, and they had a great boot camp. It's a good opportunity for people to have a more intimate setting where you have a lot of these gigabrains who are just there, and I actually didn't even know who they were. You had people like Sergey from Chainlink and Vitalik and Hayden from Uniswap, participating in this thing at various points in time, and also had the great opportunity to take a course with Goon himself for the one and only time he offered a PhD course in blockchain. So that was really fun. And so after that, Patrick and I participated in one of these hackathons and came up with the idea, the IC3 hackathons, and came up with the idea for Arrow. And it evolved over time. The message got more on point, and we started thinking, okay, how can Web3 really, really help out in democratizing options and options market making? And one of the things you see in the field is you get these huge firms that are able to aggregate capital and make markets and make a ton of money. So you have, Citadel and our favorite boy, Ken Griffin, who we all know through the Constitution DAO fiasco. A lot of his money was made through options market making with Citadel Securities. You also have firms like Optiver, and ICM, and so these guys typically are able to capture a lot of the market because they have specialized knowledge. So what we wanted to do at Arrow was provide a platform where the platform could provide a baseline market maker, that is basically our AMM, that captures 3 of the ingredients that options market makers typically implement. One is risk management, and that happens through a pricing mechanism. And 2 is trading aspects. So that happens through a transformation of liquidity from the underlier, the asset, to the option. And then the 3rd component is with respect to incorporating execution costs. So at the end of the day, we take unsophisticated or potentially unsophisticated liquidity and transform it into sophisticated liquidity for options. And when we do that, we also distribute the returns to those people who back our system, who back the AMM's hedging activities. And those are the people who are our liquidity providers. And we have a great team of people, other people from Cornell. Our tech lead is also master's from Cornell, undergraduate master's, who is also involved in some reinforcement learning with myself, research that we do that combines, that's at the intersection of finance and options, as well as machine learning. And we also have a great head of product who is from Cornell as well. And we're also joined with just a great team of people with options experience, with more academic experience, and happy to be here with you guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Ed. Tony, I know you and your team have a pretty deep financial services experience as well. I wanted to see how you guys arrived at Inc. Finance and, really supporting financial DAOs.
Yeah, that's great to meet you guys. And again, our team actually all started out as engineering and electronic engineering, computer engineering, computer science background. It's just that somehow I started my career on Wall Street. sort of veered into fixed income derivatives trading, then asset-backed securitization, cross asset management as a managing director at the Citi and at Deutsche. Then later on, I basically left the institution and started my VC, focused on fintech and AI in medical tech. But Dan and Clay, they're still the distributed networking, distributed computing sort of expert with quite some fintech exposure in integration of heterogeneous financial systems, etc. And so it is not a surprise that when we started our project, it was a heavily sort of a DeFi focused. We were trying to solve one problem, is to say where you have so much DeFi liquidity aggregation capacity across all networks, but eventually they will need tradable things, right? And these tradable things hopefully are not just limited to the fungible tokens here and there. We want to be able to sort of securitize or financialize very different bespoke heterogeneous assets and wrap them around, deliver them as financial tradable financial products. So then we get to a point where we realize who gets to set the risk parameters, who gets to set the rules, the triggers, and who gets to set the procedural integrities. And at that point, we realize some sort of a DAO must be inevitably introduced into this process. So we then went on to build a governance structure around the financial products. Then we further realized that who will be this DAO? Are we going to call all our seeders, institutional investor, haul them all up together with us to form a DAO that covers 100 different products? This is obviously impossible. So at this time, with the backers like Alliance and the Republic Crypto, we realized we really should do is to deliver this entire facility, the tools and the capabilities, deliver them as a sort of a plug and play kind of a facility for all DAOs, for them to govern their own corporate finance. So in a way, we want to turn every single sort of decentralized organizations to be their own corporate bankers or investment bankers. So that's precisely what we have, that's how we got to today. So for instance, you are a star game developer, you want to build a fleet of spacecrafts, right, which are quite expensive NFTs. And a lease portfolio might be a perfect solution. But DeFi investors don't really care about where they're not your metaverse players. But they need to know, all they need to know is your DAO will build, secure, lease them out, collect payments, and eventually, liquidate those crafts. So this is not so different from a normal financial investor's view when they look at the aircraft fleet leased to an airline company. So in the short, summary, the DAOs need money to grow, and they can use our facility to issue commonly understood financial products to finance their assets. And we basically serves as a bridge, right, to these between these product producers and the DeFi investors. So essentially turning these decentralized organizations into their own bankers to do their own corporate finance. So that's pretty much the story.
Yeah, thanks for the insight, Tony. And this might be a huge understatement, but building projects in Web3 these days, it's a huge undertaking. It's not easy experience for many teams. And one of the major questions, right, especially when it comes to dApps, is selecting the first chain to build on. I know that Arrow as well as Inc. Have Avalanche as your home base. And in Paper's case, it's one of the first chains that you guys have integrated. Want to hear a little bit more about how you guys came to that decision to build on Avalanche. We're very excited to have all of you. Maybe we can start with Ed for this one.
Yeah, sure. I think a lot of that came about through discussions after coming upon the white paper from Avalanche. So Dheeraj, who's also listening on this call, our head of product, had also been involved with me in the PhD course that I mentioned earlier. And soon after that white paper dropped, and there was a lot of buzz in the community, at least at Cornell, about this. And I think after doing a deep dive into the consensus mechanism, we were just super blown away compared to what had come before. So I think that really needs to be emphasized. It is something so special compared to any other layer one that's out there. And we also knew, the founding team, and we knew that they were capable of really adapting, even though they had a great idea on paper, like literally on paper and in theory. It is a whole other thing to actually implement that. But we also knew that they were capable of that. So we saw that, and it was just natural after coming up with this idea, one of the hackathons, like I mentioned, to come to y'all at Avalanche and start to discuss this idea. And so we came to the grants program, and shortly after that, I think it was recognized that kind of the scope and what Arrow was in terms of the idea of options as a building block, and our namesake coming from Ken Arrow, the economist, it became pretty apparent that it was a more substantial undertaking than some of the ecosystem suggestion projects that you guys had. And soon after, we started talking with people to raise money in order to build the team that we currently have. So we felt very much supported, especially as compared to some of the other ecosystems layer ones that are out there, who didn't have as much of a vision for what DeFi could bring. So that was another really important aspect, I think, of what Avalanche offered, was being able to see the value in DeFi further than just, a pure greed mechanism or degen mechanism or whatever you want to call it, and supporting those projects from a very early stage, making connections and so on and so forth. So we've seen that. We've also seen a lot of innovation in the space. We knew about the virtual machines and subnets, pretty early on, and that's definitely something we really should get into a little bit later. But that's a bit about the background there.
Yeah, I'll try to cover subnets later in the conversation. Tony or James?
Yeah, I can take a stab. So I think for us, it's three things. I mean, I echo the idea that the ecosystem team at Avalanche is great. Super proactive, very supportive throughout the process. I first talked with Fareed, I think about a month ago. A month feels like an eon here in crypto, but and he was really helpful in kind of connecting us with potential customers, making sure that we had all the support we needed from the BD side, and talking to the right people to kind of reference check kind of what does the ecosystem look like. And so that immediately popped out as a reason why we wanted to work with this chain, is just the team behind it felt really great, and we love working with great people. I think that the second thing is, as we were talking to kind of folks in the ecosystem, we felt like the Avalanche chain is very warm and welcoming, and I think that's really in line with kind of our mission here at Paper. We're trying to make NFTs more accessible, and I think each chain has its own specific use case, right? Like you think about certain chains are better for collectibles, certain chains are better for gaming, certain chains are better for like DeFi, and for our use case, which is we're really bullish on the utility use case of NFTs beyond just PFPs. We felt like the community here at Avalanche also really believed in that, and we felt comfortable referring our brands and customers who were looking, like, let's say you're a clothing brand or a fashion brand looking to launch an NFT that gives discounts on your store or gives access to a private community. We felt like the Avalanche ecosystem had peers that would be welcoming to that type of use case, and so we were excited about that. And the last one, like a more technical reason, is it's EVM compatible, and from a dev perspective, it's much easier for us to integrate with an EVM compatible C chain than another layer one that might be using their own tech stack. And so for those three reasons was why we were really excited about building on top of Avalanche.
Awesome. And Tony, jump right in.
All right. And I'll just start from, our history of how eventually got the backing from Blizzard and all that. And actually that happens later, right? I mean, the idea is that we're very technical. My reasoning may sound very corny, right? So yeah, Avalanche is like blazing fast, right? Which paves a very long ramp for protocol like ours to scale. And it charges very low gas, and which serves our users very well. If you think about traditional way of thinking, you do a DeFi, you commit to a transaction, you don't mind paying some fee, right? But if our operations are like, proposing voting, auditing, for instance, and you pay exorbitant fee, that's prohibited, right? Just doesn't work. And lastly, you're talking about a 3-tiered structure. The way we think of a DAO operation is that, on the C chain, you are finance focused, right? But who knows? You might be not all your governance is not all about finance, right? So it definitely brings into the convenience of sort of a vertical integration there. So those are very sort of a technical reasons that force us to look very closely at Avalanche. Then we take a closer look at it and we find Avalanche has already built a very coherent DeFi cluster, right? And this is the business side. Because when you have a variety of investors with a different taste and appetites, which we believe will serve the DAO users very well, because their funding needs and the methodology will be different. And we want them to be exposed to this very versatile and diversified sort of a risk appetite. And then it comes, the entire support. We got really, warmed by the support that's thrown behind us and the trust in us, and this tremendous a sense of a community, right? That's something that we are extremely impressed with. And that's how we eventually decide. We are, by the way, a true multi-chain protocol. And yet still, we've decided for all the above reasons, and we've decided to put our main facility and our native token and our the sort of a core staking engine on Avalanche C chain.
Awesome. Yeah, we're very proud of kind of the ecosystem built here. We think there's a lot of natural synergies between projects, and I think that's really kind of what we aimed for when we started. I wanted to take this time to maybe shift gears a little bit and talk about each of you guys' experiences through the Alliance Incubator program. Will, do you want to kick this section off?
Definitely. Hey, everybody. So just to give the people who are listening a sort of sense of who these people talking are, they're all graduates of our program from 2 weeks ago. And what I mean by program is essentially a 7-week sprint where every day, at 11 a.m. Eastern time, we have a domain expert come speak about Web3 in some capacity, whether it's a company that's like exited to FTX, like Blockfolio, or an OG crypto enthusiast like Melton Demirors, or deep ZK rollup experts like Tom Moulton Pocock, or even my cousin Dan Robinson from Paradigm. And we've got really fun speakers, but very knowledgeable, giving lectures every day. And then Thursdays, team meet in sort of a 10-person context, kind of like an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, where they say what their blockers were last week, what their milestones were, what they're looking forward to, and we help unblock them and cheer them on. At the same time, the entire team at Alliance, this is like Chao Wang and Imran Khan and myself and Roberto, Riccio, we've got these great people, plus Dane Lund, head of like DAO research, amazing like legal mind, basically have their Calendlies open. And we get booked all day long to troubleshoot and work with our projects, one-on-one. And then by the end of the cohort, when the 7 weeks are up, it's time to focus on demo day. We help hone our team's pitches and value proposition. I rewrite their scripts, Roberto rewrites their slides, and then we pitch to hundreds of investors on a demo day. I think we made over 300 introductions to investors since 2 weeks ago. So it's an average like 10 per team. And those are like mutually desired introductions, right? The investors are begging to meet these teams after they've heard their amazing demo day presentations. So that's the program. That's what all these people have done. We're starting the next program mid-May. We want people to apply. Looking very forward to that. Was that the question? I forget the question.
Yeah, no question. I think just more of a discussion on with each of the projects on kind of their experiences.
Yeah, well, I'd love to hear from them publicly. You can lambaste us if you want. How did it go, you guys? Let's start with Ed.
Boy, I think that there were so many times that Patrick and I, who were participating in the program, we came back to the team after watching one of those workshops or having the aforementioned kind of weekly check-ins and saying, wow, we heard this from this founder or this session, and we think this is a great idea. We should start doing something like that. And that was super valuable. Just hearing the experiences from both those speakers in those lectures, workshops, as well as the weekly check-ins, hearing from peers who are going through similar problems to us, and hearing about the solutions that they found really helped us in terms of cutting down on time, not reinventing the wheel. And that was what I found most useful. At the end of the program, there's also a demo day where we go through and create our own pitch deck, which we had done before. We talked to a bunch of VCs and whatnot, and we'd been pretty successful at it. But this demo day really gave us a different perspective because it was a 2-minute pitch. And so you had to be super, super concise, which you guys probably can tell I'm not the best at. I'm not naturally gifted at that. So, in particular, Will and Roberto from Alliance really helped us cut this down, make more of a visual aesthetic with the slides, improve our points with visuals, well explaining them. Kind of demonstrated that power. And then it also gave us a different perspective on how we should pitch our product, how we should think about what it is we're really doing, how we can, not even just thinking about it from a product perspective, but just what our story is, what's our narrative. We came away with it with this really novel transformation of liquidity narrative of, transforming liquidity from unsophisticated users to sophisticated liquidity, and then providing those returns back to the users. So all of that, to say that that was super helpful. Also, the one-on-one mentorships that Will was talking about, we scheduled a bunch of them with Xiao. So thank you so much, Xiao, who was our official kind of mentor. He helped us a lot. He has a market making background. And so it was super useful to talk to him about things ranging from tokenomics to market making to different, ideas for product partnerships, probably missing a few other things, but that at a high level was super useful. And we're looking for, both Patrick and I are looking forward to ways to give back as well, maybe doing workshops or anything like that, but it would be awesome to stay involved and help the next generations.
The most important way to help is to refer teams to alliance.xyz/apply.
Yes, awesome.
Hey, let's go with James.
Sounds good. Yeah. So I'm probably the least crypto native in the whole speaker group here. Our team, we didn't really get into crypto until since November of last year. That's when we pivoted from the membership product that was built on subscriptions into crypto. And that was actually when Roberto on the team reached out to me when I posted on Bookface saying, hey, we're just getting into this space. Would love to kind of talk to other people who've been in this for a while. And so that was kind of nice to have, folks like Will, Roberto, Chow, who's been in this space for such a long time, to one, take a bet on a company who, didn't have any Web3 experience to jump into Web3, and then two, work with us in making intros to folks and teaching us about some of the basics of how crypto companies work, how they function differently from Web 2 companies. So like I kind of think of our field and what we're trying to do. We have an advantage being less crypto native because we're trying to make crypto more accessible to other folks. But at the same time, it means we need people in our corner who can really help us understand things that we might be coming in with like a different lens on. And so that for us was the biggest value proposition. And Alliance is in the space. Their Alliance DAO has a lot of great angels and investors, and so having them back you is just a great signal. And they made so many introductions to us, to investors, and helped us kind of put together the round and get the initial term sheet. And so just nothing but great things to say. And I tell all founders, especially Web 2 founders who are trying to transition to Web 3, to kind of work with the guys at Alliance. So yeah.
Yeah, you bring up a super good point, James. For those of you in the audience who might be enthusiasts or interested in Web3, but on the fence about joining full time, there's right now is probably the best time to do so. There's just so many great resources out there, opportunities like Alliance DAO, different Discord, Twitter communities to join. So if anyone needs help or has any questions about going in here, any of these founders would be great resources to reach out to.
Yeah, and one more thing to add, I guess you probably mentioned this, but I just want to reframe it. Like doing Alliance is actually risk-free, which is crazy. Like the amount of value that they offer, they don't take equity until and they don't even force taking equity on the founders until they raise the next round. And so that's crazy, right? Like you think about YC, you think about all these other incubators and accelerators that take money up front, regardless of the value that they add. With Alliance, they're so confident in the value that they offer that they know you'll make room for them in the next round, which we're doing. And so, I just also want to say that. So if you're like someone looking to think about participating in Web3, great idea, you have a cool team, and you want to get started, Alliance is really the best place to start because it's a risk-free way to get access to a great network and a great community of peers who are also super passionate about what they're doing and have a lot of vested interest in making each other successful. I think that's the thing that always gets me really excited about Web3 is, instead of in Web 2, you're David versus Goliath. It's just a bunch of Davids running around doing stuff. And Alliance is a great community of folks. So, I wanted to say that as well.
Yeah, some high praise. Well, you and your team deserve a little pat on the back.
Hey, thanks, man. Tony, okay, you can sing our praises last, and then we can go back to Eric to handle this.
Yeah, I think I want to literally echo every single word that Ed just said. I mean, the part of that, they are academic, we're very institutional, right? And we suffer from the same kind of things, right? Then we think we know crypto, but we don't really know it, right? And what Alliance really did to us, to be honest, to say they whipped us into shape is not a sort of overstatement. And we're talking about like down to the ground, the nitty gritties. There is every aspect of our operation and our way of thinking and positioning. These are the things I really can't just sort of to name them one by one. There is another co-founder. I don't know who he was. He wrote a very heartwarming piece, to Chow. I will sum it up in his exact words. It's like simply at a different level, right? So our one-to-ones, Will, Roberto, and Chow, you want one-to-ones, we have one-on-ones, and you want written communication. We got a text edited by Will himself, then got reworked over with Chow, and there are just these aspects of our entire sort of project, and how we talk to our users. I mean, Chow has basically once said you need to stop listening to your institutional investors. They don't know. talk to your users, right? Refocus. Don't think you are creating some features that you think that is useful. Don't have that confidence. Don't let your institutional investor tell you that's the best thing in the world. Talk to your users, right? Like, your UI is crap, your UX is shit, revamp, work it out. So, you feel like you're forced into 101. You think, I'm an MD, used to, lead, professionals, 200 people in the department. I lead them. Then you realize, you don't know as much as you think you do, which is the best lesson. And not in a lesson sense, but it helps. It helps dramatically, and it's just night and day difference. And I would say that if you are a founder, regardless of your knowledge base, you think you know everything. And if you can have this chance to be like sort of join this cohort, to feel the real help they're offered by Alliance DAO, do it, and try very hard to do it.
Okay, thank you. I'm embarrassed now. Go back to Eric. Tony, thanks.
I actually just wanted to say one thing really quickly. I want to see more projects from Avalanche on Alliance. So please, guys, those of you who are part of the Avalanche ecosystem, please apply. Eric and Luigi, and I think Philip as well, just pushed us to apply, and it was a really great thing. So definitely apply.
Yeah, trying our best. So yeah, I think coming out, glad to hear you guys had pretty good experiences coming out of the program. So in terms of your projects, what's next? What should the audience look forward to? Start with maybe you, Tony, since we were just on you.
Sure. We are making the final cut, the last sprint to a fully functional offer, basically from how a DAO would bootstrap from a one meta level DAO, and how it can evolve by proposing a voting into different committees, if you want, risk committees, audit committees, and probably most importantly, that's the treasury committee, right? And then we're going to complete the off-domain, the off-chain execution audit, and then full-blown on-domain execution of your treasury management. And that product, by the end of April or early May, we will debut both, we'll put our main network on Avalanche, and meanwhile we'll debut on Ethereum side by side, hopefully at the end of April and early May. And then we want to stabilize this product. Then we really want to sort of experiment with our model to say any DAO can govern from one place, particularly for us, right? To consolidate all the data that are on heterogeneous blockchains, to consolidate the data on Avalanche. And we want to go after 2 more EVM networks. Then one cycle behind, we want to go to Solana. So we have a lot to do, but hopefully quick. Hopefully we will show up on Avalanche by early May.
Awesome. Excited for that. What about you, James?
Yeah, lots of super exciting things brewing over here as well. So we're already live on Avalanche. So if you have a project, feel free to just check us out. I think we're probably one of the only payment checkout solutions that actually allows you to fully sandbox and play around with the flow without having to talk to a sales rep. As an engineer and developer, I know how it sucks to look at a really awesome product, like I want to build this thing, I want to try it, and then you have to now fill out a type form and then wait for 6 weeks or 3 weeks before talking to someone. But anyway, in terms of things on the horizon, so I can talk about a few things. So one that we're pretty excited about is having the wallet that we create for our users be more functional. So about 70% of our users who check out with credit cards through our merchants are first-time wallet users. And they get this NFT and they get very confused. They're like, oh man, like where does this NFT go? Like, what does it do? Like, how can I see it on OpenSea? And we're going to be launching a app soon that would allow folks to be able to view all the NFTs that they own in a very simple way on their phone, able to log into dApps with Wallet Connect using purely an email through Paper's wallet, and also being able to actually connect with Web2 apps. So we've done some really cool work with a few merchants who want to offer benefits to their NFT holders who in their Web2 application, so they don't have a wallet login, but they want to verify that this user with this email has this NFT so they can give them a discount or a promo for a subscription. And so we're working on some of this interoperability stuff that to me is the most exciting piece of NFTs, is the utility that you can earn and get not only in one ecosystem, but across multiple ecosystems. So that's like one very exciting area. The second really exciting area we're working on is helping merchants collect off-chain data as well. So we're starting to see a lot of use cases of people who are shipping real-life projects and products to users who hold the NFT. And so, we have this really cool women empowerment project coming up where if you buy an NFT, you can actually get a personal alarm that you can, press to text your loved ones if you're in danger. For this project, they want to be able to ship these really awesome personal alarms to the users who are NFT holders. You kind of come for the product and you stay for the community. Instead of us sending a webhook to the user and the brand having to then send them a separate email to collect shipping information and selecting like the color of the merchandise, they can do it straight in the Paper checkout flow. So we're pretty excited about that as well. And so those two things are kind of the big things our team is working on right now, and we're always working on supporting more payment methods and more cross-chain liquidity and all these kind of things as well. So very exciting times.
Yeah, I think we're really just scratching the surface with NFTs with this Bored Ape stuff. There's like utility NFTs. There's bringing real-world assets on chain. So really excited to see what you guys end up building. And last but not least, Ed.
Yeah, there's a bunch of things in the pipeline. Of course, we have not launched on mainnet, but we are on Fuji testnet right now, and we are having our testnet trading competition. That's going to also have prizes. That's coming up in April, pretty soon in April. So just be on the lookout and follow us to get more updates about that. We are testing our framework, our pricing and hedging engine. So we're very lucky to have a data scientist from NASA who's helping us out with that, as well as market making partners who are helping us out with stress testing our system and making sure that there are measures there are measures in place for the safety of liquidity providers. We also have some product partnerships on the horizon. I'll be a little mim on that right now, but I will. There are some very interesting ways that, of course, options can be used as building blocks. They are like our name says, they are the building blocks of options. Given that's what Ken Arrow, one of the things that he was able to discover. We are a hybrid AMM structure, so we have on-chain aspects as well as off-chain aspects. Our on-chain aspects are settlement and token initiation, and our off-chain aspects involve hedging and pricing mechanisms, which are highly computationally intensive. So, we're looking for ways to use subnets to handle some of that computation. So we're super excited about that aspect, something else that's in the pipeline. And in terms of the options products, there's a bunch you can use options products for. For example, if you have, let's say, a Vox and you want to hedge against the downside, you can get put spreads on Arrow. There's the option vaults that are super popular on Ribbon and DataNuts. And all of these ways of making options more usable for DeFi users are what we're trying to emphasize, and trying to also get people comfortable with using options. And that's one of the reasons that we're going to keep our testnet up even after mainnet launch, so that people can paper trade and that they can get comfortable with the risks from that. So those are the things we have in the pipeline, we're hoping to get more people giving us feedback on our current testnet, and would love to hear from you guys in the in our Discord.
Yeah, the testnet looks great. I love the UI that you guys put together.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's good to hear from everyone today. So maybe to wrap things off, you all have been founders for a couple months, maybe a year or two in Web3. For the audience here, any advice? Maybe those looking to get into the industry. Any advice on how they can potentially get their feet wet, maybe outside of joining the Alliance DAO?
I can get started. I can try this because I'm the newbiest of everybody here. So I think Web3 at its surface is very scary, right? Because there's a lot of noise across the board with bad projects and people who are trying to grift. But I think the folks who are actually in this, who are actually building something meaningful, are way more open to having conversations with folks who are trying to get in, compared to, I think, in Web 2, because of kind of the nature of decentralization and how we are all trying to advance this space forward. So I think Twitter DMs, cold emails, these kind of things actually work really well in this space. And so if you're working on an interesting idea, or you have some interesting questions that you're trying to get some feedback on, just reach out to the people who are out there working in this space. I think also another thing to think about in this space too is if you're looking to just get in, but you don't really have an idea you want to work on, Web3 VCs are also way more open to sharing stuff and being helpful, I think, compared to Web 2 traditional VCs. And so asking them, one of the things I tell folks is, ask them who are the best Series A, Series B companies or early stage companies that they're working on. They have a ton of alpha, and say you're looking to get your feet wet, because it is really hard to find talented people who are also very excited about Web3. And so and then that's a pretty important part for a lot of companies who are trying to find mission aligned team members. And so so kind of sort of a long-winded way of saying, people in this space are very friendly. If you have a great idea, just reach out to people directly, and they'll probably give you good feedback. If you don't know necessarily what you want to work on, but you want to just work on stuff, hit up the top Web3 VCs. They're all very, very friendly, and tell them how you're a talented person looking to grow and work in a company, and I'm sure they'll refer you to a bunch of really, really great companies who you can get started with. And then we're hiring too, by the way. So I'll put that in here too.
Yeah, Tony.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, go ahead, Eric. Sorry.
I was just saying, Tony or Ed, if you want to go.
Yeah, sure. I do think hackathons are great. Of course, I'm a little biased because that's how we got started. So I do think hackathons are a great opportunity for people to not only work on projects, but also meet other people in the process. So it is something where you have to come out of your shell a bit. If you're a more introverted person, you have to push yourself a little bit in these settings to be able to talk and find people to collaborate with and work with. I would also suggest for people just looking to get more involved in the space to learn a little bit about the basics of what's out there already. So in DeFi, there's a ton of great references and resources. There's even a great Coursera class from Cam Harvey that just kind of gives you the basis. Use the products. That's kind of the first step. And then see what people are talking about, see where the chatter is. And you can get a lot of sense from that, from kind of watching the different conference talks, the participating in the hackathons, and then more on the technical side. If you do want to be on the dev side, then if you're coming from Web 2 and you have a good coding background, it shouldn't be that hard to pick up Solidity, but you will have to put in effort. It's not just a piece of cake. The concepts are a little different, so that will take some time, but there are good references for that. Or if you're more on the Web 2 side and you come from a more of a data science or economics or finance or modeling background, there's still very much opportunities for you to get involved in projects and connect up with more traditional devs to help out on the contract side. So a lot of that does come about through a bit of a social game, meeting the right peers who are looking to get in to the space themselves. But like I said, there's a ton of activity from the ecosystems, like Avalanche, with the hackathon that you guys just wrapped up. There were tons of opportunities to meet people and connect up with people with different skills, with complementary skills, people who might have more of, like I said, more of the modeling background or the business background. And all of those things can come together, and more of the dev background. All of those things can come together to create a spectacular team. So it's great to kind of to encourage people of different walks of life to get involved. And that's from the DeFi perspective. But then there's also so much in the NFT space that's coming about, NFT and gaming space for people involved in those areas. So yeah, just like to emphasize that conferences and hackathons are, I think, a great opportunity to do just that, get those connections.
Yeah, totally agree. Tony?
All right, I think just speaking from my own perspective, I think it's important for whoever wants to take it, that dabble with Web3. Don't get too much locked up in your idea. You probably have an idea, but today's competitive landscape is quite different from, let's say, 2 years ago. 2 years in crypto is eons, right? So you need to service the landscape. And to say, if you think you are a niche or you are some kind of an infrastructure major play, service the landscape, position yourself well, make sure if you have a niche that it can scale, right? That's the first. And the second thing I think the entire Web3 or crypto, you gotta have a sense of having fun, for instance, tokenomics is such a bloated word. If you can embed GameFi in your thing and your economics, and I don't mean GameFi as metaverse GameFi, but like if you have this fun driven, very novice idea, you probably have a better chance than to say I find an arbitrage here, a little kinks there. That's doesn't matter how great you think your solution might be. That probably is not going to land you anywhere. So my suggestion is that survey the landscape really carefully to reflect on your own idea and to see if there is a way for you to gamify your idea. Take your economics along the line of how to play it, right? Make your system interesting, in the sense that the crypto people and the Web3, because Web3 is fundamentally a different regime than the Web2 that you probably are familiar with. And so start from there, and you probably will start from a better footing to begin with. So that's sort of my suggestion, because you have lots of Web2 talents are going to come to this world. And before you do that, do this homework.
Yeah, definitely. The industry has grown quite a bit since the ICO days of 2017. It's great to hear kind of like the advice and the words of wisdom from all the founders here. Appreciate everyone tuning in. I think we're just past the top of the hour. Will, do you have maybe a few? Could you maybe say a few words to close us off?
Well, I just want to thank everybody for attending and for these great founders for sharing their stories. Please follow us all on our adventures, because we're all going to be in Web3 for a long last time, and it's going to be great.
Yeah, and my DMs are always open as well for anyone interested in learning more about Avalanche, interested in building here. Just don't show me your random NFT projects. I get a lot of those, but apart from that, pretty much an open book.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks everybody. This has been a great discussion. Really exciting to hear all the projects that are being built and how Alliance is kind of spearheading all the stuff that's going on and all the mentorship that you provide. And thanks, Eric, for walking us through it. So we'll be back soon with more spaces. We got a couple coming up next week, so stay tuned to our Twitter account. We'll also have some Avalanche Summit recap content coming out really soon here. And then we got a lot of projects lifting off here. So thank you everyone for joining. Ed, Tony, James. Congratulations on the cohort and good luck to everything you're building. And we will talk to you all soon. All right.
Thank
Thanks,
you,
everyone.
guys.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Appreciate it. Bye-bye.